I cannot be held accountable for the person I was in 2021. We were all going through something in 2020, 2021, 2022. I was going through a little bit something extra. Okay, I was going through a little bit more than you guys were. Russian Olympics. Let's go. No, but during that time, the only thing keeping me going was knowing that at the end of each day, I could go to bed. Anyway, the other thing that kept me going was fully escaping this world and going into a completely different one, which meant I got really into animation, specifically kids' cartoons. I could not handle anything remotely realistic or that was any sort of a heavy adult topic. So in today's video, we're going to be going through some of the shows I watched in my worst depressive episode ever, and I'm going to be defending them because yes, they are really questionable, but I was just in a vulnerable mental place, okay? Originally, I had 10 of these shows that I was going to talk about, but that is just way too many because I like to yap. So we're going to do 5. Let's get started. Also, these are in no particular order because I can barely remember those 2 years of my life. So this is just the order that I wrote them down in because I don't remember the order that I watched them in. Spoiler warning, I won't be saying major spoilers, but there will be like minor general spoilers as I just talk about like the overall vibes of the show. So this is your warning. The first show we'll be talking about is BoJack Horseman. What is this show about? It's a horse. Man. BoJack is a washed up sitcom actor. He is dealing with depression, addiction, emptiness, like lack of success. It's absurd. It's a comedy. It is gut-wrenching. The view from halfway down. Anyway, some common complaints about this show that I could find. Unlikable characters. Yeah, BoJack is literally horrible. He's the main character. He's the guy that we follow. He is the worst. This actually was the first show that I watched in my horrible mental state, and it was like self-sabotage. If you've watched this show, I feel like you'll know it's just like, it almost like feeds into all of your bad thoughts, and it's like, yep, that is true. Like BoJack is the worst, and I am like BoJack. BoJack is making horrible decisions, and I am like BoJack. BoJack has mental health problems, and I am like BoJack. The next complaint, it has an overly dark tone. This is super valid. It's an adult cartoon, so like you know going in that there's going to be mature themes and storylines, but what you don't know is that it is going to be like so heavy and horrible the entire time. Like usually with shows, there's like some funny moments and like lighthearted, and then it gets serious, and then it's like lighthearted and funny again. The show is just like horrible the whole way through, and then it somehow keeps getting worse and more horrible as you go. I don't really remember a ton about the show, so I can't even be that specific. The final complaint is that BoJack has no character growth, and he literally just keeps making the same mistakes over and over again through what, like 7 seasons? And to that I say, yeah, it's because he's realistic and he's the worst. Characters usually that start off bad are supposed to get redemption arcs, and they're supposed to grow and learn from their mistakes. BoJack doesn't do that. So we just watch this guy like completely ruin his life, and for every good thing he like happens to get or do, he destroys it, and he is the worst. So this is a show that I will never be able to watch again in my entire life, but it was the first thing that I watched in my depressive episode. BoJack Horseman. I don't recommend watching it if you're happy. It will make you sad. And if you're sad, it'll make you more sad, and maybe it'll make you numb. So take that with a grain of salt. Some people love it. It's some people's favorite show. Can you believe that? Next, we're doing a bit of a 180 here. Miraculous Ladybug.
I'm Marinette.
What is Miraculous Ladybug about? Well, it follows Marinette and Adrian. They are 2 teens living in Paris. They're normal until one day they become superheroes. Marinette becomes the superhero Ladybug, who has the power of creation. And Adrian becomes Cat Noir, who has the power of destruction. They have to work together to save Paris from the evil villain Hawkmoth. Hawkmoth akumatizes like regular people that live in Paris. He feeds on their anger and turns them into villains. And so Ladybug and Cat Noir have to fight against him. This is a very silly show. It's for little kids. I actually watched a couple episodes of this in like 2018 when I was nannying my little cousins who were in like elementary school at the time. And then I ended up watching it on my own 3 years later. It does have some deep themes though about like responsibility and teamwork, and also not the theme song, but just like a song that like the original French voice actors put out was actually the only thing like that made me feel something in 2021. That song and First Ride from How to Train Your Dragon. So now some common complaints. These complaints are from adults who watch the show. I don't think the kids have complaints. That the villain of the week is boring and there is no plot progression over the literal years that the show has been airing. And to that I say, yes, that is so valid. It is for little kids. And usually if you watch kids shows, you'll find that even if they have like a villain of the week, like a new villain every episode that the characters have to fight against, there is still some sort of like overarching series plot or even season plot that ties everything together and like everything is building towards that. This show doesn't have that. It is literally villain of the week. Everything resets at the end of the previous episode and it is a little bit frustrating. In that same vein, Marinette and Adrien never change and they never get together. Let me introduce you to the love square. Marinette loves Adrien. Adrien loves Ladybug, who is Marinette, but he doesn't know that. They don't know that about each other. At one point, Ladybug loves Cat Noir, and then Cat Noir loves Marinette. Everyone loves each other except like their real selves. That's why it's a love square. It's so crazy. And like that whole plot, like that idea is so good. Marinette in her normal life isn't super confident and she is very like soft-spoken, fades into the background, kind of gets bullied. And Adrien in his normal life tries so hard to be like this perfect, famous model boy, like good son for his dad, who's a fashion designer, who by the way, is Hawkmoth. And nobody knows this. Ugh. When Marinette becomes Ladybug, she has so much confidence. She's sure of herself. She's a good leader. She makes like good decisions. When Adrien becomes Cat Noir, he doesn't feel the pressure of being this perfect son that he's not. He can just be himself. He can be goofy and silly. It's like, yeah, Marinette and Adrien don't love each other because they love the ideas of each other. Like that's not who they really are. So what you would need is for Ladybug and Cat Noir to fall in love and then like somehow reveal their identities to each other. That's good, right? That never happens. Even if like something does happen, like they take a step towards growing or like a step towards building more of a relationship, it's gone in the next episode. Another complaint was like censorship. Like they can't really dive into heavy topics because it's for little kids, to which I say yes. But I knew that going in, so that wasn't a huge complaint I had. Again, I didn't want anything with heavy topics. I wanted the fun, lighthearted villain of the week, silly, goofy, like girl has crush on boy, boy has crush on girl's superhero persona. And finally, Hawkmoth. Hawkmoth's plan makes no sense. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting to get different results. He is an adult. He is like the CEO of this huge, amazing company. He's obviously smart. Why doesn't he change his plan? His conviction and his motivation for what he's doing is there and it's solid. So why doesn't he change his plan? Because it's a TV show for little kids. That's why. Every week, he turns a new person into a villain. Ladybug and Cat Noir defeat them and he says, oh man, I'll get you guys next time. And then he does the exact same thing over and over and it never works. And they've put out a couple movies where I feel like Hawkmoth switches things up a little bit or gets like a super powerful villain, but then they just beat it and it all resets in like the next normal episode. It's kind of heartbreaking a little bit because like the lore is so there about like how they get their superpowers and things about the world and the history. And again, like I said, Hawkmoth is a good villain. Like, he has a really complex motivation, and you wonder if like he knew it was Adrian or Adrian knew it was his dad. Like, would that change things? Everything's there. It's just like the writers aren't doing anything with it. Like, it really doesn't have to be this deep, like, adult show. Like, they could still explore those themes and make it fun for kids, but I digress. That was Miraculous Ladybug. Next, Shera and the Princesses of Power. So we follow our main character, Adora. She discovers she is the chosen one. She has the power to be this superhero named Shera and save her planet from the evil horde, who she actually was a part of. I just threw my ring. She was like a part of the evil horde with her BFF Catra. When Adora found out she was Shera, she switched to like the other side and left her BFF Catra. And Catra became like one of the leaders of the evil horde. So now they're fighting against each other. It's giving the most intense enemies to lovers because they are literally trying to kill each other. The show has themes of friendship, identity, redemption. The princesses are so slay with all of their powers. There's a bunch of different princesses that rule different parts of this planet. They have like ice power, water power, plant power. It's so fun. It kind of reminds me of Ladybug, but if it was like aged up and had an actual good plot and actual character arcs, and people are learning and growing from each episode, and there is like an overarching theme throughout the whole show. So, some common complaints. The last season was rushed. This is something that I think happens with a lot of kids shows, especially because they'll be like so good, and like I said, they'll be developing this story, but then they'll either get canceled or they'll only get one more season, and so then they have to like wrap up everything really fast in this last season. However, I think that this show did that fine. Like, I feel like when I watched the ending, I didn't have any huge problems with it, and it wrapped up all of the storylines that I cared about. So like, good for them for doing what they could with the time that they were given. Next complaint, there is oversimplified morality. It's very black and white, heroes versus villains, and I don't agree with this, because as we go through the show, we learn so much about the like villains specifically and the people like working for the horde and their motivations. Like, right off the bat, we know Catra's motivation, because all of the kids like working in the horde, Adora included, were orphans that were like raised by the horde, so their only option is to like fight, because the horde is like almost like their caregiver people. So like, they were literally raised from children together to fight and be warriors for this evil horde. Yeah, you totally understand why Catra hates Adora, because that's her best friend, that's her BFF for life, and she just leaves her to go be with a bunch of like random people on this planet. Like, that's crazy. And it's like that with so many of the characters. We learn about their backstories and like how they ended up with the horde or their motivations. And it's not black and white at all, because some of the princesses and the good characters go over to the bad side. And like, you understand why. It doesn't come out of left field. And so that's where it like gets gray. I don't think it's black and white. I think there's some gray area to be like, you're not totally right. You're not totally right. Like, I understand where everyone's coming from. And that's my opinion. Another complaint was just about the animation. Yeah, maybe it wasn't the most amazing animation I've ever seen in my life, but there's something about like a good 2D animation that's gonna do it for me every time. When I was watching this, I didn't want anything that was realistic. I wanted to escape into a magical, fictional world, and so this show was perfect. The final complaint that I saw was that there was a lack of focus on side characters, and again, I disagree, because we literally learn about, I mean, maybe not every single side character, but at least some of them we learn about their backstory, their motivations, and we get to watch them grow over the seasons. Like, it was actually cool in this show. Like, they kind of aged everyone up towards the end, and so some characters got like a redesign, and it was actually so cool. Like, they're not just growing emotionally, they're physically changing as they go through the story. Oh, it's so good. It's on Netflix. It's a completed show. I would highly recommend watching it if you need like a fun little show to watch that is still good. Shera and the Princesses of Power. Next show, this is really tough for me to talk about. Infinity Train. There's 4 seasons. Each season follows a different character as they are trapped on this magical train. Each train car is a unique world that the main character has to get through in order to return home. They have to confront their deepest insecurities and traumas in order to get through and survive. For example, season 1 follows Tulip, a teen girl who is dealing with her parents' divorce. Also, her sidekicks are a talking robot and a little corgi dog who is a king. It's so cute. But the later seasons do get pretty dark. Those follow more themes of like self-worth, loss, obsession. These stories are pretty wrapped up. It is almost like Villain of the Week, where it's like each episode they're in a new train car trying to get through, but the characters are growing with each obstacle they encounter, and each character's story is wrapped up at the end of their season. There is the overarching story of like, what is this train? Like, where did it come from? How does it work? Now, some common complaints. First off, it was canceled. So after 4 seasons, it was canceled. It was on HBO. They took it off, and good luck trying to watch it literally anywhere. And they also don't sell it on DVDs. So yeah, that's heartbreaking. Since it was canceled, like the 4th season story is wrapped up at the end of the 4th season, but the overarching story was never explained. All of the lore from the train and some of the characters that we meet along the way that you can see, like, oh, they're going to be a big player later on. We never get to that. Okay. But whatever, you know, there's nothing we can do. The other complaint that I saw was that it was too good for a kids show. Just kidding. What people actually thought was that it was too mature or dark for a kids show, but I disagree, because I think if you're actually a little kid watching this show, you're gonna miss all of the heavy topics. I feel like you are gonna see it as like, oh, this fun adventure show where these like normal people have to overcome these crazy obstacles in a magical train, and like, look, there's... I just threw whatever, the ring's gone. These like funny sidekicks, you know, like going through the world. And then if you're like an adult or even like an older kid watching the show, then I think that is when you can start to relate to the characters more and what they're going through, and you can like appreciate how much they have to grow through each episode in order to get home. If there's one thing about me, I love a story where it's like a regular person goes into a magical world so they can grow, and then they get thrown back into their regular world with this whole new confidence and appreciation for themselves. I love that. I just want to get taken to a magical world and grow, and then not come back to this world. And then yeah, final complaint that the train's lore was never explained, but you can't blame that on the showrunners if they thought they were going to have like another season or something. If you can find where Infinity Train is streaming or being sold, tell me, and then we can watch it together. I'm dying to get my hands on an Infinity Train DVD. Okay, next. Jujutsu Kaisen. Is that how they do it? Itadori is a kid. He swallows a demon's finger, and now the demon Sukuna is living inside of him. He goes to this school for jujutsu sorcerers who fight demons. There are iconic characters, crazy fights, literally no plot armor, and then a crazy end sequence. This was the 3rd song that made me feel something in 2021. You'd be watching the most intense fight scene ever, and then it would cut to the credits, and this song would play, and you're just like, this seems a little lighthearted for what I just went through. So some common complaints about this show. That it was cliche. Now, at the time of me watching this was like one of the first few animes that I'd ever watched. So it seemed really original to me at the time. Now that I'm watching some other animes, I see that there are a lot where people fight like demon monster people, but I'm not mad about it. And then the last complaint was that there were pacing issues. I can kind of understand this. I feel like with some of the animes that I've watched, it will be really slow in like the first half of the season, and then there will be like the second half or like the last few episodes just like a super crazy like long fight sequence. It didn't bug me. Watching this actually leaves me with such an empty hole inside of me by the end that I actually need like a week to recover after I finish an Attack on Titan rewatch. So I don't know why I've rewatched it so many times. I don't know why I'm doing that to myself, but of course I did in this horrible mental time. So what is Attack on Titan besides the best show ever created? Humanity is living inside these giant walls because human eating titans are living outside of the walls. Our main character, Eren Yeager, fights against them after his home is destroyed and his mom is eaten by a titan right in front of him. That's not a spoiler, that happens in the first episode. There's crazy plot development over all of the seasons, but it makes sense. I've said the seeds are planted early on and then the flowers are blooming later. It kind of goes from being pretty straightforward survival story, humans versus titans, to a story about war, morality, freedom, like what all of those things mean. It's so complex. It's so morally gray. There is no black and white, right and wrong heroes and villains in this show. There are twists, betrayals, literally no plot armor. If I've said no plot armor a couple times throughout the show, this is the show with the least amount of plot armor. There is actually literally none. Any of your favorite characters could be gone at any moment. But that's part of what makes it like so crazy and good. And yeah, I cry major tears every single time I watch, even though every time I rewatch and I know what's coming, I still cry. I can't help it. Okay, so some common complaints about Attack on Titan. It has morally gray themes, to which I say that is the point of the entire show. Like the whole point, especially towards the end, is to be like, is anybody totally evil? You know why everyone is doing everything. And even if that character is doing something that you don't like, even if that character is like fighting against your favorite character, you understand why. You're put in a position to decide for yourself. Is anyone right? Is anyone wrong? Is anyone justified? Or like, why are we doing what we're doing? You can be free, but at what cost? Like, how far are you willing to go for your beliefs? Does that make you immoral or are you justified? Like, it's so good and it's crazy. Okay, another complaint that I see all the time is that the pacing, specifically in season 2, is too slow. So season 1, we're like in the world, it's like fast, exciting fights, and then season 2 slows way down. And then season 3, we're back to like fast, exciting fights. To which I say we needed season 2. Like the complaint with Shera was that we didn't know enough about the side characters. Okay, well, season 2 of Attack on Titan, we literally get a backstory for like every single side character. You might think that's boring, but then in season 3, there is such a payoff because we slowed down in season 2. We got to know our characters, so we care about our characters now. We care about like every single character. So in season 3, when they're having these crazy fights and you know that there's no plot armor, the stakes are so high because you care about all these characters and you don't want any of them to die, but you know that any of them could die at any moment, and they do, and then it's like heartbreaking. So that's what I say about that. Another complaint is Eren's drastic change of character in the later seasons towards the end. Now, Eren is my favorite character. Even when he was doing some questionable stuff, I stood by him. I'm with him every step of the way. And I would never change that. Like, if people are upset about Eren's drastic change, I understand that. It breaks my heart who he was at the beginning of the show and then who he was at the end after everything that he went through. But it makes sense. Even if it's not what you wanted to happen to him, you cannot deny that it is logical and it makes sense, and like that is the life that Eren was dealt. The final complaint for Attack on Titan is kind of similar, but it's that there are confusing plot twists. Yes, okay, the first time, I think it's somewhere in season 4. I don't even know because again, the episodes were so confusing in season 4. Like the order the episodes came out in. When the big like gigantic plot twist was revealed, yeah, I had to take a step back and I had to rewatch that episode and be like, wait, did that really just happen? What does that mean for the 3 seasons that I just watched through? Like, what does that mean? But then, like, when you look back, it makes sense. Attack on Titan's like slogan should be like, it's upsetting, but it makes sense. Like, you don't like it, but it makes sense. Attack on Titan. I don't know why this show was what I needed when I was in my horrible mental state, because like I said, it leaves me with an empty hole every time I finish watching. I think because these characters are like real to me. The world is like so good, but it's not our world. I don't know. It's just such a good show. That was Attack on Titan. Highly recommend. And then after this, I discovered BTS, and I could only watch Run BTS for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of my cartoon list. Yeah, these shows were literally there for me when no one else was. Escaping into these worlds, even if it was low-key traumatizing, was so much better to me than living in the real world at the time. And for that, I am forever grateful, and I will never stop defending these shows. Cartoons get a bad rep, or people think they're only for kids. I hope this video showed you that they could actually explore like some really interesting themes, because at the end of the day, they're being made by adults. At their core, their stories about being human, even if all the characters aren't human. If you're going through it right now, I hope this inspires you to find something, whether it's a show, a hobby, or whatever, that can give you the space to pause your brain and breathe for a minute. And if you watched any of these shows, I would love to know your thoughts. And that's all I have today. I watched more shows and I had to cut down this list. So if you like this video, maybe I will do a part 2. But anyway, thanks for watching. Bye!